Man, I am so excited for the build craft in the new patch, but I am also a little bit scared. After testing some of these new artifacts on the PTR, there are some that are definitely incredibly strong. Now, I don't think any of them are bad, but there are some that are definitely better than others. Let's start by talking about the build that I'm going to share with you guys today and that I was playing. It is a minus 60% cooldown reduction build, and we take advantage of a bunch of different stuff to get there. The new 25 focus passive, the mechanic, and then the nimble coat, as well as 4 pieces of refreshing. Now, for this particular build, I don't think that it felt crazy OP. It was definitely strong, but the really interesting part about it was completely changing the playstyle of Musket by making the cooldowns on Trap and Grenade almost non-existent. Trap having an 8-second cooldown is just wild. I mean, it gives 5 seconds of 33% haste, and you can use 2 traps after you have to wait for the cooldown, so there is only a 3-second downtime for 10 seconds of 33% haste, and it's on demand. That is kind of nuts because it allows you to just be the most mobile thing and keep that movement speed bonus up basically indefinitely. On top of it, the fact that you can throw so many traps down really changed the dynamic of how Musket felt to play against melee opponents. It was a lot easier to zone people out by using the traps and just turn a fight around by preventing the melee opponent from being able to pressure me at those key moments. Honestly, I would kind of compare it to Ice Shower from the Ice Gauntlet because you just can throw so many traps on the ground and they last for 30 seconds now, so you kind of always have a little bit of something to run back to, even if your opponent destroys your traps. Then let's talk about the grenade. The grenade is on a 5-second cooldown, meaning that after you throw it and it explodes, there's about a 1-second wait before you can throw another grenade. Now, this completely changed how Musket felt to play in a stack fight, because you're throwing a grenade every 5 seconds into the stack. The grenade deals a ton of damage. You can throw traps in the stack too, and on top of it, the bullets have penetration now. Musket in general feels like a much more effective AoE weapon in a PvP situation, and even in a PvE situation on a build like this. So as someone who has played Trap Musket in the past, this is definitely the strongest version that I have ever played of it. And of course, with this build, the Rapier and the Power Shot have a 35% cooldown reduction, which is absolutely amazing. It felt like a build where I always had something up, and I never didn't have an option in the fight. Now, let's talk about some of the other weapons that I was encountering on the PTR. The first one that I want to talk about, and arguably one of the most popular weapons on the PTR, was the Spear Scorpion Sting. The pull on this spear feels like a bit much. It's not necessarily the pull itself that's really strong, it's the fact that you're kind of locked in that animation long enough for your opponent to just combo you out with something like a blunderbuss before you can react to it if you get hit by that pull. I think that's something that could definitely be looked at. Blunderbuss in particular is one of the biggest culprits for the stun lock one-shot kind of setups. And with how high the damage is on the PTR, I think anyone who's running 100 con or less is susceptible to going down to a build like that in a single combo. Outside of being locked in that animation though, I did think that the Scorpion Sting didn't feel too crazy overpowered or anything like that. Again, kind of like the new Musket, just adding a new dynamic to gameplay that didn't really exist or wasn't as good of an option before. And the new Blunderbuss, I don't even want to talk about. The amount of healing reduction that it gives is freaking crazy in PvP. And I think the icing on the cake with that one is that the healing power in the PTR felt super low. Now, we didn't have access to the new potions that they have on the PTR, those regen potions that not only give you health over time, but stamina too. So I think that healing will definitely feel a little different when we have all the tools that we need. That being said, I did find the heal reduction from that blunderbuss to definitely be way too oppressive. So for PvP in general, I gotta say the blunderbuss is probably the best weapon artifact that I personally encountered on the PTR. The Fire Staff and the Void Gauntlet that scale from different attributes also let me fight a bunch of different build combos that I've just straight up never had the pleasure to fight before, so it was really cool to see people running stuff like that. And I definitely think that new block stability shield deserves an honorable mention. I'm very curious to see how the meta will look with all these new items coming in. It'll be a while before things settle, but it is going to be different from what we've had so far. Okay, so let's talk about the build that I was playing here. 60% cooldown reduction. Starting off with the attributes, 350 dex, 150 intel, 25 focus, and 89 in constitution. I think because of how this build functions, you could definitely run higher constitution on it and still have excellent burst thanks to the frequency and damage of that grenade. That being said, I do like playing Musket squishy, and I know a lot of people like to play it squishy too, because it has such excellent burst, especially with power shot hitting so hard now. And here's a look at that Musket tree. Again, crazy cooldowns on all of these skills. Everything is under 8 seconds. That is pretty much unheard of. I don't know any other build prior to this update that could do something like that. And of course, we're playing that very trap-heavy Musket with power shot. I really like this setup on the PTR. It felt very, very good. And something that's really nice about this build too is look at the Rapier cooldowns. 13 seconds on Flesh, 7.8 second evade. As someone who played during the launch of the game when evade was on a 6-second cooldown, this felt really reminiscent of that time. And evade is one of those skills, man, that when you have cooldown reduction on it, it becomes really, really good. Taking a look at the gear that I'm running on this guy, of course I'm using the mechanic. Extra levers for 25% cooldown reduction, plus the 35% base cooldown reduction we get from everything else. That is how we're getting to that 60% value. On top of it, we've got accelerating traps and mending sticky bombs on this gun. Now, mending sticky bomb was bugged, it wasn't working for me, but the accelerating traps was working just fine, and that movement speed was absolutely crazy. The rapier I was running is a rogue omnidirectional frost attunement rapier. You could switch out frost attunement or rogue for leeching. Personally, I think leeching is a good way to go this patch because of the lack of healing power. And then moving on to the armor, that nimble leather coat, 10% base cooldown reduction, and then it does have 1 refreshing on it as well. And you can see I'm running a full 4 out of 4 refreshing perks. Now, I think shirking heals, having been buffed a lot in this patch, is going to be a huge necessity to be playing any kind of solo PvP. It gives a lot of additional healing power, and with healing power nerfed how it's been, yeah, it would really help to have that healing power, and I didn't have shirking heals on the PTR, so I wasn't able to actually test it out, but I'm really excited to see what it looks like on live. And then taking a look at the jewelry here, of course, we've got the stamina recovery on the necklace. The ring, again, I would actually like to run leeching here. I think hardy leeching and then a 3rd perk of your choice is the way to go. And then for earrings, because health potions had their healing power nerfed by quite a bit, Healthy Toast is a really strong option to have on your earrings. So that one I would highly recommend. Refreshing Toast is less of a must-have, but I still would recommend that too. And then of course Regenerating, because healing power is low, so you gotta stack as much as you can this patch. I think something worth mentioning at the end here is the finisher Rapier would also be a really good option for a build like this, because if you have Keenly Jagged on your off weapon, you are easily able to proc that additional 15% damage that the finisher gives you. So you won't be able to get the same amount of trap gameplay, but if you wanted to play a Musket build that was more shooting focused instead of grenade and trap focused, I think that would be probably the best way to get damage on a Musket in the new patch. And there you have it, guys. That is the build that I put together on the PTR. I really liked it, and I will likely try to put it together on live as well. But there are so many other things that I want to explore with all these new artifacts that are in the game. So yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna play on patch day, but I do know that I definitely want to go out and farm some artifact weapons. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. I hope that you enjoyed the gameplay and the build breakdown. Of course, if you have an awesome clip for the top 5 fights, you can send that to Kristofer at pvpnewworld.com. Check out my website for a bunch of different build guides. And of course, a thank you to our sponsor, ExpressVPN. They can help keep you safe online. There's a link down below if you guys want to get a deal. A big thank you to all my patrons on Patreon for supporting the show as well. And thank you guys so much just for tuning in and watching today. Hope to see y'all next time, and I hope you guys are excited for the upcoming expansion. And I guess, bye.